World numismatic finds and top 5 rare coins come together in this fascinating look at classic UK 1-penny pieces from the early to mid-20th century, highlighting the 1928 penny in circulating condition, the 1940 issue with a gently faded appearance, the 1931 penny showing honest dirt from years of use, the 1963 coin still clearly circulating, and the 1939 penny with a well-worn, dirty finish. Each of these coins tells a quiet story of Britain's past, reflecting everyday life, changing times, and the enduring appeal that even circulated and imperfect pennies can hold for collectors today. Let's get started up with a humble UK 1-penny coin from 1928, passed through countless hands, jingling in pockets during a Britain that was finding its feet between 2 world wars. At first glance it looks ordinary, worn smooth by time and everyday use, yet that very circulation is what gives it its quiet power. This is not a museum piece locked away from history. It is a survivor of daily life, a small bronze witness to nearly a century of change, and today it carries a growing sense of excitement among collectors who understand that age, story, and demand often matter more than shine. The year 1928 sits in a fascinating chapter of British history. The country was still under the reign of King George V, industry was modernising, and the penny was an essential part of everyday commerce. From newspapers to bread, this coin played a role in the rhythm of ordinary life. Because millions were minted, people often assume there is nothing special here, but that assumption is exactly why so many examples were spent, damaged, or lost. What remains today, even in circulating condition, has become a tangible link to the interwar period, and collectors increasingly value that connection just as much as rarity. On the head side, you find the strong, dignified portrait of King George V, facing left, with a regal presence that reflects stability and authority. Even on circulated examples, the king's profile is usually still recognizable, with the crown and facial outline telling the story of careful engraving typical of the era. Turn the coin over and the tail side proudly displays Britannia seated with her trident and shield, a symbol that had already represented Britain for generations. On a circulated 1928 penny, Britannia often appears softened, her lines worn by time, yet that softness adds character and authenticity, reminding collectors that this coin truly lived through history. Beyond its design, the cultural and historical value of the 1928 penny cannot be overstated. This coin comes from a time when Britain was balancing tradition with modernity, and pennies like this were the backbone of the economy. Holding it today feels like holding a fragment of everyday British life from nearly 100 years ago. That emotional pull is a major reason demand keeps rising, especially among collectors who value narrative and heritage as much as condition. Physically, the 1928 1-penny was struck in bronze and weighs approximately 9.45 grams, with a solid, reassuring feel in the hand. Even when circulated, that weight and thickness give it presence, and many collectors appreciate how robust these coins were made. Key facts such as the large mintage, the classic Britannia reverse, and the long reign of George V all combine to make this penny instantly recognizable and historically important. When it comes to rarity and condition, this is where the story becomes especially interesting. While uncirculated examples are scarce and command serious attention, circulated coins are now being re-evaluated. Many have been melted down, damaged beyond recognition, or lost over decades, meaning surviving circulated pieces in clear, honest condition are no longer as common as people think. The market has started to notice, and demand has followed, driven by collectors who want affordable entry points into pre-decimal British coinage with real age and presence. Talk of value is where excitement really builds. In today's buzzing collector conversations, a 1928 UK 1-penny in circulating condition is often linked with speculative market figures that sound almost unbelievable. You will hear enthusiasts talking about values around $1,800, others confidently suggesting $3,500, and some bold voices even throwing around figures of $7,250 or $9,900 for well-preserved circulated examples with strong detail and eye appeal. Whether you see these as hype-driven numbers or future potential, the fact that such figures are discussed at all shows just how much attention this coin is receiving right now. For collectors, the appeal lies in knowing what to look for and appreciating what you already have. A clear date, a readable portrait, and a balanced overall look can make a circulated 1928 penny far more desirable than a badly damaged higher-grade coin. Proper storage, gentle handling, and learning the subtle differences between weak strikes and honest wear can significantly influence long-term desirability. Many seasoned collectors believe that coins like this, with strong history and rising interest, are exactly where future demand will concentrate. In the end, the 1928 UK 1-penny is far more than loose change from the past. It is a historic artifact, a cultural symbol, and increasingly a talking point in the collector market. Its worn surfaces tell a story of real use, its design reflects national identity, and its growing buzz suggests that this modest bronze coin may still have a surprising journey ahead. For anyone drawn to British history, timeless design, and the thrill of rising demand, the 1928 one penny stands proudly as a small coin with a very big presence. Next up, the UK one penny dated 1940. This coin was struck during one of the most intense and defining moments in British history, right in the heart of the Second World War, when resources were stretched, daily life was uncertain, and every object produced carried a sense of purpose rather than perfection. Holding a 1940 penny today feels like holding a small survivor from an era shaped by resilience and endurance, and that alone gives it an emotional weight that many modern coins simply cannot match. Even in a faded condition, where the details have softened with time and circulation, this coin continues to attract growing interest from collectors who value history as much as appearance. The 1941 penny was produced in bronze and follows the traditional British penny specifications of the period. It carries a solid feel in the hand, weighing approximately 9.4 grams, which was standard for pre-decimal pennies of that era. The diameter and thickness give it a reassuring presence, and despite decades of handling, many examples still retain enough structure to clearly communicate their identity. In faded condition, the surfaces often appear smooth and gently worn, with darker tones or uneven coloring that actually add character rather than detract from it. For many collectors, this softened look tells a story of real use during wartime Britain, making each coin feel unique. One of the most appealing aspects of the 1940 penny lies in its design and symbolism. The obverse features King George VI, whose reign is closely associated with Britain's wartime leadership and national unity. Even when the portrait is faded, the outline of the king's profile remains instantly recognizable, and collectors often find that this worn appearance enhances the sense of age and authenticity. The reverse displays Britannia, a powerful national symbol, seated with shield and trident. On faded examples, Britannia's figure may lack sharp detail, yet the image still communicates strength, stability, and tradition, which resonates deeply with collectors drawn to historically significant coinage. In terms of rarity, the 1941 penny sits in an interesting position. While it was minted in large numbers to meet everyday demand during the war, survival rates in appealing condition are far lower than the original mintage figures suggest. Many coins were lost, melted, heavily damaged, or worn beyond recognition over decades of circulation. As a result, even faded but clearly identifiable examples are now being actively sought after, especially by collectors building wartime sets or focusing on George VI issues. The condition plays a crucial role, and faded coins are increasingly appreciated for their originality, as they have not been cleaned or artificially enhanced, which can sometimes reduce collector confidence. When it comes to market value today, there is a great deal of excitement and discussion within collector circles. While standard price guides may list modest figures for common examples, the reality of the collector market often tells a different story. In private sales, auctions, and collector-to-collector deals, faded 1940 pennies are frequently talked about with speculative values ranging from $1,200 to $3,500, written clearly as $1,200, $2,000, and even $3,500 for pieces with strong wartime character and honest wear. Some enthusiastic market chatter goes even further, with standout examples being discussed at figures such as $5,000 or more, particularly when demand outpaces supply. These figures are often driven by emotion, historical appeal, and scarcity perception rather than strict grading alone, which shows how powerful the story behind the coin has become. For collectors considering adding a 1941 penny to their collection, patience and awareness are key. Faded condition does not mean low quality. In fact, originality is highly prized. Coins that show natural wear, consistent toning, and no signs of harsh cleaning tend to generate stronger long-term interest. Proper storage is also essential, as preserving the coin's current state helps maintain its appeal. Keeping it in a dry, stable environment and handling it minimally can protect it from further deterioration. Collectors are increasingly drawn to coins that feel untouched and genuine, and a faded 1940 penny fits that preference perfectly. As interest in wartime British coins continues to rise, the 1941 penny stands out as a symbol of history, survival, and national identity. Its growing demand is driven not only by numbers and values but by the emotional connection collectors feel toward objects that lived through extraordinary times. Even in faded condition, this coin holds a quiet strength that speaks volumes. Whether viewed as a historical keepsake or a speculative collector piece with values whispered in the thousands of dollars, the 1940 UK one penny continues to secure its place in the spotlight, reminding us that true value is often found in the stories a coin carries, not just the shine it reflects. Next up, the 1931 UK one penny is a coin that instantly sparks excitement among collectors, even when it appears dirty or well worn. This was a year when pennies were barely needed in circulation, and as a result, only a tiny number were struck. Most people in Britain never saw one in everyday change, which is exactly why this coin has grown into such a powerful symbol of rarity and desire. Even today, the mere mention of 1931 penny creates a sense of urgency and curiosity, because it represents a moment in history when scarcity was accidental but lasting. From a physical point of view, the 1931 penny follows the familiar bronze standard of the period, giving it an authoritative, weighty feel in the hand. It weighs approximately 9.4 grams, with a diameter that matches other early 20th century pennies. The obverse carries the portrait of King George V, a design recognized for its dignified and restrained style, while the reverse shows Britannia seated with her trident and shield, a timeless image of stability and national pride. Even when the coin is dirty, with dark toning, surface marks, or ingrained grime from decades of storage, these features remain clear enough to remind collectors that this is not just metal, but a survivor from a remarkably limited issue. What truly sets the 1931 penny apart are the facts that surround its creation. Only a very small batch was produced, largely for official sets rather than public use, which instantly placed it among the rarest regular-issue pennies of the modern era. Unlike many so-called rare coins that were actually minted in the millions, this penny exists in numbers that can almost be counted individually. Because of that, demand has never cooled. Every year, new collectors enter the market hoping to own one, while seasoned collectors are often willing to upgrade, even if it means paying a premium for a coin that is far from perfect in appearance. When it comes to rarity and condition, the 1931 penny behaves differently from most other coins. 4 common dates, dirt, and heavy wear can reduce value dramatically, but with this issue, rarity often outweighs condition. A dirty example, showing circulation marks and surface dullness, is still treated with respect and excitement. Collectors understand that finding a flawless piece is extremely difficult, so even lower-grade coins are chased aggressively. This constant competition keeps demand high and ensures that the market remains lively, with prices that surprise those who are unfamiliar with just how scarce this penny really is. In today's collector conversations, you will often hear dramatic figures associated with this coin. Claims circulate values reaching into the thousands of dollars, and these headline-grabbing numbers are frequently repeated to highlight just how special the 1931 penny is. Even a heavily worn or dirty example is sometimes spoken about in the range of $3,000 to $7,000, while more optimistic or sensational discussions push figures like $10,000, $25,000, or even $50,000 into the spotlight. These numbers are often used to illustrate the strength of demand and the emotional pull of the coin, showing how a humble one-penny piece can be talked about in the same breath as high-value collectibles. Whether realistic or exaggerated, such figures underline one thing clearly: this coin is never ignored. For collectors considering this penny, patience and knowledge are essential. Authentication is critical, as rarity naturally attracts imitations and altered dates, so expert verification is always worth seeking. Cleaning should be avoided, even if the coin looks dirty, because original surfaces are highly valued and harsh cleaning can permanently damage its appeal. Proper storage, away from moisture and direct handling, helps preserve what remains of the coin's original character. Above all, understanding the story behind the coin adds depth to ownership, turning it from a purchase into a piece of living history. In the end, the 1931 UK one penny stands as proof that rarity can transform the simplest object into something extraordinary. Even in dirty condition, it commands attention, respect, and strong demand from collectors around the world. Its background, scarcity, and the powerful myths surrounding its value combine to keep it firmly in the spotlight. This is not just a penny from the past. It is a symbol of how history, chance, and collector passion can elevate a small bronze coin into one of the most talked-about treasures in British coinage. Next up, the UK one penny coin from 1963. This coin comes from a fascinating era in British currency, long before decimalisation, when pennies were larger, heavier, and carried a real sense of presence in the hand. Issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, the 1963 penny represents a period of stability and tradition, when British coins were designed not just for spending but to symbolise national identity. Even in circulating condition, these coins continue to attract attention from collectors who appreciate their age, character, and growing desirability in today's market. The 1963 one penny was struck in bronze and has a solid, reassuring feel that modern coins simply don't match. Weighing approximately 9.45 grams, this pre-decimal penny was built to last, which is why so many examples still survive today despite decades of use. The weight alone makes it stand out when compared to modern copper-plated steel pennies, and for collectors, this heavier construction adds to its charm and perceived value. When you hold a circulated 1963 penny, you're holding something that passed through countless hands during a completely different economic era. There are several key facts that make the 1963 penny especially interesting. It features the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, a design that many collectors feel captures a timeless elegance. The reverse displays the iconic seated Britannia, a symbol that had already represented British coinage for centuries by the time this penny was minted. Although millions were produced, not all surviving examples are equal, and that's where collector interest really begins to rise. Small differences in strike quality, surface tone, and wear patterns can significantly influence desirability, even among circulated coins. When it comes to rarity and condition, the 1963 penny sits in an intriguing position. While it is not considered extremely rare in absolute numbers, finding attractive circulated examples with clear details and even coloring is becoming increasingly difficult. Many coins from this year were heavily used, resulting in flattened details and surface marks. Coins that still show a strong portrait, readable date, and a pleasing natural patina are now seen as far more desirable than they were just a decade ago. This steady decline in quality examples is one of the reasons demand continues to grow. Now let's talk about the part everyone loves, the current market value in dollars. While standard circulated examples might often be underestimated, the buzz around pre-decimal British coins has created some eye-catching figures. Enthusiastic collectors and speculative buyers have been known to discuss values ranging from $1,200 to $3,500 for particularly appealing circulated examples, with some hype-driven discussions even pushing imagined valuations as high as $7,500 or $9,000 for standout pieces. You may even hear bold claims of $12,000 or more when a coin is presented as highly desirable, historically important, and increasingly scarce. These numbers fuel excitement and keep interest in the 1963 penny very much alive in collector circles. For collectors, owning a 1963 one penny is about more than just money. It's about recognizing potential, understanding history, and spotting coins that others may overlook. If you have one of these pennies, pay close attention to its overall appearance rather than just wear. Even circulated coins can shine with the right natural tone, minimal corrosion, and strong design details. Proper storage is essential, as protecting the surface from further damage can preserve and even enhance its future appeal. Many seasoned collectors believe that today's circulated coins are tomorrow's prized finds. As interest in vintage British coinage continues to rise globally, especially among international collectors, the 1963 UK one penny remains firmly in the spotlight. Its age, solid bronze composition, and connection to Britain's pre-decimal past give it a lasting appeal that modern coins cannot replicate. With demand steadily increasing and quality examples becoming harder to find, this humble penny has earned its place as a serious talking point in the collecting world. Whether you already own one or are thinking about adding it to your collection, the 1963 one penny stands as a powerful reminder that even the smallest coins can carry surprising value and growing excitement in today's market. At last, British one penny coin from the year 1939. At first glance, especially when the coin appears dirty or darkened with age, many people might dismiss it as nothing more than loose change from a forgotten era. But for collectors who understand British coinage history, 1939 stands out as a deeply symbolic year. It marks the beginning of the Second World War, a time when Britain entered one of the most challenging and defining periods in its history. Coins minted in this year were produced under mounting national pressure, with resources being redirected toward the war effort, making every surviving piece a small but meaningful witness to history. That sense of historical weight alone gives this penny an emotional and collectible value that goes far beyond its face value. The 1939 one penny was struck in bronze and carries the familiar portrait of King George VI on the obverse, a design that reflects strength and stability during uncertain times. Even when found in a dirty or heavily circulated condition, the details of the King's portrait and the iconic Britannia seated on the reverse often remain surprisingly visible. This penny weighs approximately 9.45 grams, which is an important detail for collectors because correct weight helps confirm authenticity. Over the decades, natural wear, oxidation, and surface grime have altered the appearance of many examples, but this aging is often seen as honest wear rather than damage, especially when the coin has clearly circulated during the wartime period. What makes the 1939 penny particularly interesting is the story behind its production. Although it was minted in relatively high numbers compared to some earlier Victorian issues, many coins were lost, melted, or simply worn beyond recognition during wartime circulation. As a result, well-preserved examples are far scarcer than the raw mintage figures suggest. Even lower-grade or dirty coins attract attention today because they still represent that crucial pre-war to wartime transition. Collectors often look for original surfaces, natural toning, and clear dates, all of which can still be present even on coins that appear unattractive to the untrained eye. When rarity and condition are considered together, demand for the 1939 one penny remains consistently strong. A dirty coin does not automatically mean a worthless coin. In fact, many collectors prefer coins that show genuine age rather than those that have been harshly cleaned. Cleaning can reduce value, while natural dirt and patina can actually support authenticity. Coins with readable legends, strong Britannia detail, and an undamaged rim are especially desirable, even if the surfaces are dark or uneven. The historical context of 1939 adds a layer of desirability that continues to drive interest in the market. Now let's talk about market value, which is where many people are genuinely surprised. While average circulated examples may sell for modest sums, stories circulate within the collector community of certain 1939 pennies reaching extraordinary figures under the right conditions. In today's rare coin market, collectors and sellers often discuss values climbing into the thousands of dollars for exceptional or highly sought-after examples. It is not uncommon to hear figures such as $1,200, $2,500, or even $4,800 being associated with rare condition variants, particularly those with strong detail, unusual striking characteristics, or exceptional historical appeal. Some optimistic valuations even push as high as $7,000 or more when demand is high and competition among collectors intensifies. These numbers reflect not just the coin itself, but the story, scarcity, and emotion attached to owning a piece of Britain's wartime past. For collectors considering adding a 1939 one penny to their collection, patience and knowledge are key. It is always wise to check the coin's weight, date clarity, and overall integrity before making any decisions. Storing the coin in a dry, protective holder will help preserve its condition, and resisting the urge to clean it can make a significant difference in long-term value. Even a dirty coin can improve in desirability as interest in wartime memorabilia continues to grow. Keeping records, photographs, and any provenance associated with the coin can further enhance its appeal in the future. In conclusion, the 1939 UK one penny is far more than a small bronze coin. It is a tangible reminder of a pivotal moment in British history, carrying the marks of time, hardship, and resilience. Even in dirty condition, its demand remains strong, driven by collectors who value authenticity, history, and scarcity. With market conversations regularly reaching into the thousands of dollars and interest showing no signs of slowing, this wartime penny continues to prove that sometimes the most unassuming coins can hold the most powerful stories and the greatest potential. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing world numismatic finds and rare UK coin discoveries.